Hello students, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. Let us begin today's lesson talking about the past perfect. Now, the first thing you need to know about the past perfect is the form of the past perfect. So let's look at the affirmative form. It is a subject plus had as a helping verb plus verb 3 as the main verb. So an example would be you had started. She had finished. We had written. You had read. Okay, so pay attention to that. The verb had takes singular and plural, so there is no differentiation. Let's look at the negative form. Subject plus had not plus verb 3. Simple. So I had not or hadn't as a contraction. I hadn't started. We hadn't played. Let's look at the question. All you have to do is to flip the subject and the helping verb had. So instead of having the subject at the beginning, it comes to the middle. So had plus subject plus verb 3. So instead of saying you had completed it, flip the parts of the sentence and it becomes had you completed it. Let's look now at the use of the past perfect. Why do we need to use the past perfect? Of course, we use it to talk about an action that happened before another action, both in the past. Again, we have two actions, both happened in the past. One of them happened before the other. Okay, let's look at this diagram. They had been married for 3 years when they divorced. Look at the timeline. Future, present, and past. So, they had been married for 3 years, action 1, before they divorced. So, they were married first, then they divorced. Of course, they couldn't have been divorced if they hadn't been married first, right? So, they had been married for 3 years, then they divorced. Another example. The meeting had already started by the time I arrived. So, the meeting starts at 8, in the past, of course. And I arrived at 8:15, so I'm late. So, the meeting had started, then I arrived. Action 1, had started. Action 2, I arrived. As you notice, had plus verb 3, this is the first portion of the sentence. The second part of the sentence, I used verb 2. So, this is the present. All of this is the past. So, arrived at 8:15. So, this is verb 2. So, I went one step back into the past. And I want to go more into the past. So, I want to go one step more back into the past. So, I used had already started. It means that I am referring to the past of the past. Again, so this is the present. This is the past of the present. Then, this is the past of the past. Okay. Let's look at some keywords. Now, this tense has a lot of keywords, but some of them, or the most important ones, are before, after, and by the time. Other keywords are because, then, and when, which explain the meaning of the sentence and create a link between the two parts of the sentence. Let's look now at some examples. If I have an affirmative sentence, it would look something like this. She had completed her work before leaving, or she left the office. Now, I gave you a gerund here, leaving. This is a correct sentence. You can use leaving instead of verb 2. You can use a gerund instead of verb 2, but not with all sentences, not with all verbs. So you have to pay attention to the context and you have to pay attention to the structure of the sentence before using a gerund. So she had completed her work before she left the office. The plane had left by the time I got to the airport. So the plane left first, then I got to the airport. So obviously I missed the plane. Let's look at the negative forms. I hadn't eaten at that restaurant before he took me there. So, hadn't eaten happened first, then he took me there. I hadn't eaten, then he took me. She hadn't met him before the party. So, she hadn't met him, then we went to the party. Okay. Let's talk about interrogative sentences or questions. Had he talked to her before? Simple. Just flip the subject and the helping verb had. Had he talked? Had they apologized before they came in? Okay, so I'm asking you if they apologized first, then came in. Again, I'm asking if they had apologized first, then came in. This was our lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I will see you next time.